Welcome back to the show. Does this ever get, like, tired, just walking around and people cheering for you when you walk into rooms?
Well,
I cheer for her.
You cheer for her?
I mean, why not?
Just like solo standing ovations?
Well, it is Halloween night, so I think there's a lot of energy in the air.
No. I think you get this. I've watched videos of you walking into restaurants together as a family. I've seen you walking in alone. There seems to be this feeling where you walk around the country and people go, it's a little bit of like, oh, but it's also like, yay! Like that's a cool feel. It's not the presidency, but it's a cool consolation prize,
Well,
no?
that's true. Yeah. It does make up for it a little bit.
Chelsea, thank you very much for being here. You came from trick-or-treating,
I did.
now.
Yes.
You literally just went trick-or-treating.
Literally.
But you didn't dress up as any, you just took the kids
I just
trick-or-treating.
took the kids. We had a Moana,
Right.
a clock striking midnight from Cinderella,
Okay.
and a pumpkin.
Oh, I like this. I like this. And
The pumpkin didn't choose.
Because like
He's
if
3 months
you
old, but
came to
everybody
my
else
door on
chose.
Halloween, I'd be
Yes.
like, oh my God, you dressed as Chelsea Clinton. That's amazing. How did you do that?
Amazing! I've never really thought that I have like a built-in Halloween
Yes,
costume.
you have a built-in Halloween crowd where people Chelsea Clinton. You're like, no, it's a good makeup though, right? Yeah, it's a good.
Sometimes people will say to us, do you know you look just like Hillary Clinton? And I say, yeah, I've heard that.
Let me say, first of all, congratulations on a phenomenal book. I didn't know what to expect, the book of Gutsy women. I didn't know if it was going to be a book about American women, a book about political women, but it's just a book about women who have changed not just their world, but the world in some way, shape, or form. What's interesting is that you wrote it together. You've written many books separately, but this was your first book writing together. As a mother and daughter, as someone who's written a book without my mother, I cannot imagine what it would be like to write something with my mother.
Is that why you're staring at me so
not
intently?
hate each other at this point? What was the process like?
It was a lot of fun. It also did take some adjustment because my mother still writes longhand.
Like
Yes.
writes out
Yes.
the words?
Although I said this at an event and I could see like a teenager up in the rafters turn to his mother and say, "What's longhand?"
Because there's a generation that goes like, what is that? Writing the words out with a pen and no autocorrect.
No, and like no ability to track changes or have comment boxes.
Right, and you're doing it, like, are you doing it on computer and like
like 2019.
So how do you... So how do you compare the notes then? When you, like, do you bring the longhand into the digital, or do you like give it to her and be like, you longhand my work?
Well, so my mother would take photographs of like each page.
Wow.
And then text or email me the photographs of the page.
Wow.
Yeah, so like when we were particularly working on the things that we wrote together, like we write about Rosa Parks and Claudette Colvin together.
Yes.
So I would like type my Claudette Colvin essay and send it to her as an attachment, like a Word document, and she would take pictures of like each individual page of her Rosa Parks essay and like send me like page 1.
I can feel your frustration as you're telling me this story.
I'm still working through it.
This is nuts.
Yeah.
I can feel that. Why did you choose to write this book together? I mean, you've had many opportunities. You could have written about anything, your family, politics, your life, but this is a specific book, and it feels like for a specific time. Why?
Because we really believe that in today's world, the stories of gutsy women, and literally there are many millions of them, but we chose 103 to write about because their stories tell us, yes, about the struggles that they endured and their persistence to try to improve their own lives and the lives of people around them. But I think, especially in today's world, we need to be reminded of these kinds of stories, and they are historic and contemporary and even a few fictional. And they were women who inspired me as a little girl and then throughout my life, and the same with Chelsea. And in fact, we started talking about, inspirational women when she was a little girl. And so we want to share these stories, and we hope that people can find some message that will help them,
Right.
especially given the difficulties that a lot of people around the world face right now.
It's interesting, Chelsea, because you've said, there was a time in your life when you watched your mom running for president and there were more women in space than running for president.
2.
Right. And now you have a plethora of women. I mean, you have 6 in the race, and you've seen how many women participated in the midterms and won as well. Do you feel like we're noticing a shift in society that's positively moving us to a place where there's equality? Not there yet, but just moving us in that direction?
I think we're absolutely making progress. I also really appreciate how you framed the question, Trevor, because it's super important that we don't get complacent and that we also understand still how far we have to go. I mean, even though we had an unprecedented number of women run for Congress in 2018, we were still less than a quarter of all declared candidates.
Wow.
So making progress, but we still have a long ways to go to get to parity. But as we've seen, like, who runs for office really matters because it determines who holds office. And I'm
Right.
so thrilled that my children are growing up with the most diverse Congress in American history.
You have chosen 103 women in this book who all have different stories of being gutsy, but what would you find was the common thread that made them who they are?
One, I think the sense of just deep purpose, sometimes something that they knew from when they were a little girl. Like Jane Goodall always knew she wanted to work with animals, and Sally Ride, kind of the first American woman in space, really became a physicist because she wasn't a good enough tennis player. So she kind of found her passion later in life. But what is so distinctive about all these women is that they brought others along with them, sometimes consciously breaking down barriers and sometimes just really aware of their example. And I find that really powerful and gutsy, that it wasn't just for themselves, it was for others too.